Hi friends, welcome back to Crazy Brave Homeschool. My name is Ashley if you're new here, and I'm a homeschool mom to a third grader and a kindergartner in a Charlotte Mason inspired homeschool. This video is a big one, and I'm almost certain I'm going to have to break this up into grades. So this will be an update for my third grader, and then I'll do a separate update for my kindergartner. Because otherwise this will be well over an hour. Because we're a Charlotte Mason homeschool, we cover several subjects, and I want to fill you guys in on everything that we did for term 1, which is the first, in our case, the first 13 weeks of our homeschool. And I want to just talk about it and tell you like how it went and where I'm at right now. We actually just finished our term 1 exams today. We did it yesterday and today, and so this is a good day to shoot this video because, I have some things on my mind about how the semester or how the term went, and it'll feel good to talk about it. Okay, so I think before I get into the actual materials and curriculum that we used for term 1, I just want to hit really quick the goals that I had written out for my third grader. I only came up with like 3 or 4 goals for my kids for the entire year of things that I just really want to concentrate on this year. For my daughter, it was learn cursive and to improve her handwriting. This, I'll just say, before I even tell you like what we used or whatever, we have hit this goal. Her print handwriting still needs a lot of work in terms of just her writing throughout the day, like in off school hours when she's writing. It's still big, it's still sloppy, but her copy work has gotten so much better, and she like actually really cares about doing a nice job. Probably because she knows that I'm going to correct it, but she really does care about doing it nicely, and so I've seen a huge improvement in her copy work, but not so much her like day-to-day handwriting. She is learning cursive, and I will say right off the bat, our cursive program has been probably, top 5, if not top 3 programs or subjects that we've done this year. It's going over so well, so I'm really pleased about that. Another goal that I had for her was thoughtful art and projects. My daughter is just like, she's a busybody, she's full of energy, and if you've seen any of our day in the life videos, you might have seen a few where she's literally on roller skates for our school days. That doesn't really happen anymore. I think that I am laying down some firmer boundaries, which is good. But she's all over the place. And so she just moves through things quickly, especially if she's not really excited about something. She just wants it to be done. And I get that. But I really wanted her to just start taking a little bit more time with her school projects. And that is happening. That's definitely one of the biggest improvements I've seen. If you hear my printer going off in the background, I'm sorry. That's one of the biggest things that I've noticed, just improvement-wise with her this year, is that she has gotten more excited about the projects that we're doing. And I really wanted to be more intentional this year and to choose stuff that I knew would resonate with her. And I've got to say, it's definitely working. Calendar skills. I haven't been like drilling calendar work with her, but I am noticing just a natural improvement of her grasp on the calendar. And so that's great. It hasn't been something that I've had to like really work hard on with her, like I kind of thought I might need to, because it's kind of naturally just like doing it on its own. And then narrations. So last year our narration kind of regiment was a little weak. And since we're Charlotte Mason homeschool, it's like really important. And so this year I wanted it to be better. We are doing regular narrations, especially with language arts every week. History has had a bumpy ride this year. And so unfortunately, like we have done a lot of history narrations, but because we've had to change up our history programs, unfortunately a few times now, those narrations haven't been super steadfast. But those were the goals that I had written down. And I think all in all, we're definitely hitting them so far. So I am going to just like bang through this, you guys. This is probably going to take a while. I'm going to try to do this in a half hour. Let's see if I can do it. All right. So for language arts, it's important for me to continue to hear my third graders reading fluency. We're not using like a real regimented phonics curriculum with her. In fact, I never really have. We've tried them out before. For the most part, we've kind of stuck with the Charlotte Mason approach, but also we've tried a lot of different things because she was kind of a struggling reader, and she might have benefited from a strong phonics program, but it's just not the route that we took. And now she is a pretty strong reader. I wouldn't say her fluency is perfect. She is still, needing to sound out, figure out some multisyllabic words, but to hear that fluency every week, a few times a week, we are reading the Bookshark Level 3 readers. I don't have her read these independently. I have her read out loud to me 3 days a week, and we go back and forth. She is still an apprehensive reader. Even though she's reading very well, she doesn't love it yet. She's not a little bookworm like I really want her to be. So she really prefers that we go back and forth on these readers. These have gone over pretty well. She hasn't loved the books. This one is for sure more her style. She's just a more adventurous little gal. And I will say The Secret Valley was decent. It had a little bit of adventure. She was pretty bored with the Chalkbox Kid, the Paintbrush Kid, and this one we put down, as you can see, like halfway through. This was just like strange. It just wasn't really her thing at all. It was a little boring, but then it like started getting abusive on like mice and stuff, and she hates abuse with animals. So anyway, we put that down, but we're really loving Viking Adventure, which we're on right now. Okay, so for like our core language arts, I say core hesitantly because we had chosen Blossom and Root Level 3. We used year 1 and we had a great year, so I decided to give it another try with year 3. We didn't use it last year, and we have liked some of the books from this, and I'll go over which ones we've read so far. But I have basically dropped all the elements of the novel studies because I just don't feel like studying novels yet. I want to work on her. I want to work on her reading fluency, her handwriting, her narrations, her dictation. We're doing a little spelling and a little grammar this year. We're doing other things like Shakespeare. She's learning cursive, and I just like don't care yet about her grasp on novel studies. I think that we have a long ways. I think we have plenty of time ahead of us to jump into all that. So we are reading the books, which we love, and she's narrating them. But the only other things we're using from this is the word list. So I have like a student notebook for her. That was a lot bulkier because it had all of the other elements of the student work, like copy work. And okay, my video just cut out, so hopefully I didn't lose anything. Okay, I don't know where my video just cut out, but anyway, this is the word list that we'll do every week. There's a different one each week, and it has like some kind of phonics rule or some new suffix that she's learning about. And so I'll go over and make sure that she can read all of these fluently. And if she struggles with any of it, we might do a little word play on a different day, like building the words with word tiles. We're just using the narration pages out of this for her to do a narration once a week. She doesn't like drawing her narration, so I typically don't make her. Yeah, so that's all we're using out of Blossom and Root this year. Let me talk about the books that we've read. I don't have it in front of me because I got it from the library, but we've read Alice in Wonderland. We did not quite finish it because it was like pulling teeth. Alice in Wonderland, I really can imagine, is kind of a hit or miss for a lot of kids. It's very strange. It's like nonsensical. And I think some kids could probably really like that a lot. She's not one of them, and I'm not either. So neither of us were connecting with it, but we were fairly diligent. We got through most of it. We did actually do a few of the literature projects because it was the first one. I just wanted to like really give Blossom and Root a chance. So we did actually do quite a bit of the projects with that one. But anyway, didn't love it. And then we read A Midsummer Night's Dream story. We didn't do the play. And we actually read a couple different versions of it. This was the first introduction. Okay, it's like 80 degrees where I live right now. Doesn't feel like Halloween. I'm very warm. So this was the first introduction to Shakespeare that I have done with my daughter, and I didn't know how it was going to go, and it went so good. She is a Shakespeare lover, of the stories anyway. We'll see how the plays go. And so Midsummer Night's Dream went great. Blossom and Root actually had some really great links to just watch, like just to learn more about the play and Shakespeare and the Globe Theater and stuff. And so that was a great introduction. I'm very appreciative for that. The next book we read was Wonder. So this doesn't have, I'll put a picture of what the book looks like. Doesn't have a book jacket. This might be my daughter's favorite book. I'd definitely say it's in top 3. This went so great. There were maybe a couple of chapters that were a little dull and she was a little less excited. But overall, she fell in love with the book Wonder. And then at the end of it, we watched the movie with Julia Roberts, and she loved the movie. So this is just like a major highlight of term 1. This is about a boy who has a birth defect in his face, and his face is much different than anybody else. And it is just a book about kindness, acceptance, seeing people for who they are within. Wonderful messages. What I will say is that it's about 5th grade, and then there's like a high school component with his older sister. And so like that works for my daughter because she's like a mature 3rd grader. But there are a few other books in the Blossom and Root book list this year that are about 5th grade boys. And so I kind of thought that was sort of funny and not entirely relatable. But my daughter really looks forward to being older. And so I think that she liked that about this book. I just think it's worth mentioning. The next book that we are still reading is My Side of the Mountain. This is a fairly short chapter book. It only goes up to 170 pages of, yet again, a boy. I don't know. We don't know how old he is. I think he might be like 13, maybe younger. But anyway, it's about him surviving in the wild. He's run away from his family. It is really good. My she's up and down with it. She's like really, really into it at some parts, and then she's kind of bored with others. There's a lot of survival skills in this book, which is super cool. I don't know if every 3rd grade girl is going to connect hardcore with that, but she's definitely curious about what it would be like to live in the wild, and she loves animals. And she loves nature. So I'd say it's definitely a win. It's just like, I don't know, I feel like it for sure would connect with like a 10-year-old boy. And I think that we are just having good luck with it. The envelope in here, I will tell you, the reason that because we haven't done a ton of literature projects with Blossom and Root this year, which is sort of unlike me, but like the literature projects just weren't speaking to me or my daughter. I wanted to do something creative, and I saw this idea on Little School of Smith's blog. So she's had her kids before do book reports that she then, the kids put in envelopes, they paste them together, and they draw pictures of, something about the book. So here's Alice in Wonderland. She really didn't put much time into that one because she did not like that book. This is, this was actually from Blossom Root because we were supposed to do like a character, personae, something I forget. But it's basically like a list of the characters that are in the play. And so these are all the characters, and that was hers. And then Wonder is an astronaut. So these are the 3 that she's done. The book reports... So I should have grabbed it. I got a book off Amazon for book reports that is like double-sided. And this is her first time filling out book reports before. I think it's good practice for a little bit of writing. We're not getting heavy into writing this year. The problem, though, is that, well, first of all, she didn't like the book. And so she just barely had anything to write about it. Like, dumb, no, yes, dumb, nothing. So this book report project wasn't great because she didn't like the book. But I also, I wanted her responses to the report to be more thoughtful, and I knew that they likely wouldn't be if I was having her write the actual report when she is not super comfortable with writing yet for school. And so instead, we got on the computer for the next one, and I had her dictate to the computer with the feature that you can use to record your voice. I had her dictate her answers to the book report questions, and that went over much better. It was basically a very long, complex narration, and that's more of the style that we're in right now for third grade. So that went over a lot better, and then we did the same thing with Wonder. So this is how we'll be doing the book reports for the rest of the year, unless she starts showing a little bit more development and motivation in writing, and then I'll have her handwrite maybe a couple. So we have our envelope ready for My Side of the Mountain when we finish. Okay, so another component with Blossom and Root is their poetry. For third grade, they recommended Book of Nature poetry. I gotta say the first couple of these were really great. And then it's only recommended to just read the poem once on a Friday or whatever. Like, there's nothing wrong with the poems, but I don't know. It just felt kind of disjointed from the rest of our language arts, because I do have a poetry component that I'll talk about. And this just felt like extra. And a lot of the poems I wasn't really that into. And there's no guide on how to talk about the poetry. So it's like, you've got to do one of two things with poetry if you really want to understand it or appreciate it or learn it. You have to read it every day, the same poem every day, which Charlotte Mason would recommend anyway. Or you have to actually do a study of the poem, sit with it, talk about it, dissect it a bit. I don't think that just reading a poem once a week is fulfilling enough. And so it felt like extra. So the last couple of weeks I have put this down, and if we want to study this again in the future, we'll do that, and I'll pick a poem to read every single day, the same poem every day for 5 days. Or we'll study the poem. Otherwise, I just don't really see the point. Okay, and then the final piece, I believe, with Blossom and Root, for the first half of the year, they have a book called In the Beginning, which is creation stories from around the world. They scheduled this book for the first half of the year because in the second half of the year, they start studying religion. And I think that makes a lot of sense that you would study these really kind of out there stories about what people around the world believe to be creation and how we all got here before you start getting into religions. Because religions obviously stem from a lot of these beliefs. So I was really excited about this book. My daughter immediately was really freaked out by the cover. And so that wasn't a great start. And then she was not into the rest of the illustrations. And then on top of that, the stories, she just wasn't resonating with. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on what we didn't like about the stories. But the projects then, and then the work that stems from this program was not going very well because she didn't like the stories. And it was something that I really felt I needed to schedule in 3 days a week. And I had another geography plan that I was doing where this just felt like extra. So you can kind of see a pattern here. Anything that's feeling like extra it's getting cut because we have so much already. So unfortunately, In the Beginning did not work out for us, but I am still planning on bringing in the religion studies second half of the year. Okay, so sticking with language arts, we tried out Write by Number at the beginning of the year. We had started this last year. I was planning on just gently going into stage 2 this year, which is really just building your first body paragraph. But I did decide, kind of alongside the novel studies and letting up on grammar a bit, that we're going to let up on writing this year and wait until 4th grade to start getting into more writing. And even then, I think I'm more so just going to be focused on the written narrations in 4th grade per the Charlotte Mason recommendation and save the mechanics of writing until middle school. So Write by Number is just probably not really going to be a part of our homeschool for the next few years. I would say top 3 wins has been Shakespeare. I already mentioned A Midsummer Night's Dream went really well with my daughter. She, even the other night, like 10 minutes before bed, because she didn't want to read My Side of the Mountain, she's like, can we just read a Shakespeare story? Can we read a new Shakespeare story? I'm like, at 8:30, when my brain is like just fried from the day, we cannot start a new Shakespeare story. But that's how much she loves these. I wouldn't say that she is like totally with it with the entire story. We have needed some help, and actually, do I have it? Okay, so I figured some props would be useful for Shakespeare because there are so many characters, and even though this is Edith Nesbit's writing, not the Shakespeare plays per se, the language is still, a little tough to follow. So I got puppets from, this is Hearth Magic's Romeo and Juliet. I also got the Tempest puppets off of Etsy. But then I realized I can stop. I mean, I don't regret it. The puppets have been really fun. It's kind of a lot to juggle when you're reading the story. I remembered that I have a free resource from Ambleside that I found through the files on their Facebook group. And we used this. Is basically a character map of every story from Beautiful Stories for Shakespeare. And this has just been fantastic. Like, we used this hardcore when we read 12th Night last week. And this has come in really handy. So I don't think I'll be buying any more puppets. I think that we will just use the rest of the character maps that are from that file. But anyway, needless to say, Poppy loves Shakespeare. It's really fun listening to her narrations of it because she's grasping it really well. I was a little worried about Romeo and Juliet because it's just so tragic, but she loved it. They went over totally fine. It was no issue. So my plan with Shakespeare is that we will likely read all of the stories this year because our curriculum plans for next year, we will start reading the Shakespeare plays. And I believe we might only be reading one next year. But anyway, this will just be a really fantastic foundation, and I don't think that I'm going to have any time to read more Shakespeare stories next year with everything we have planned. So I think we're going to read this whole thing this year, which is really... Okay, we're still with language arts, if you can believe it. I haven't even hit, like, the main thing that we do. All right, on Wednesdays, we have been using this Love, Mom and Me. This is a really cute back and forth journal that Poppy and I fill out where, like, she'll fill out one page... So, like, for instance, these are just things that, like, remind us of, like, she would write what she thinks of when she thinks of family, her community, what's outside of her house, what's inside of her house, and then I write my thoughts on family, community, and things like that, and then we share what we wrote to each other. So this is a really fun little creative writing thing that doesn't feel like forced schoolish writing because, again, we're just not there yet. And so I want to keep writing fun, and this is going over really well. The cursive that we're using, this is actually a cover that I made, but we are using Logic of English. What is it even called? Logic of English. I can't remember, but it's their cursive program. I'm using this with both my son and my daughter. We do this together 2 days a week. And it's great. It's really gentle, but I am so impressed with what they've remembered. With their exams today, they remembered all of the letters that I quizzed them on. And what's nice is that, like, you don't do a ton of workbook work. You just choose one line, and then you do a bunch, and then you circle your best one. And they have really enjoyed it. My daughter's handwriting is so much better in cursive. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's more fun to write in cursive. And then my son's, which I'll talk about when I do his video. But it's going really well for him too. And so then there might be like a review where you practice all the letters. They haven't gotten into writing words yet, but that's coming up actually next week where they start writing their first like 3-letter words. And anyway, we're just loving cursive. This is going over awesome. I'll hit the main thing that we do every day for our language arts. So because, again, we're Charlotte Mason, we don't do a ton of grammar, spelling, or writing until a little bit older. So my daughter has a companion notebook for her copywork, dictation, narrations. Well, her history narrations go in here. Let's see, spelling we do, and then the grammar that we do. So I'll tell you what we're using for those things. The main spine that we've been using all year is A Child's Garden of Verses by Robert Louis Stevenson. I don't even know how this happened because this really wasn't my plan. I was going to use Blossom and Root. But I guess when I just decided I wanted to go with an even more Charlotte Mason approach, I decided to do this. I was going to use this with my son this year, but it definitely turned into my daughter's like main spine. So what we do is every week we will read a new poem. So first of all, she has 3 poems to memorize throughout the year. We just finished our first one, which is Bed in Summer. And so she will recite that once a week in hopes of memorizing it by the end of the term. But let's just say we have a new poem that we're just going to study. So we study 1 poem a week. Let's just say it's this one, Young Night Thought. And so what we would do is we'd basically use this as a reading lesson. So I would read the poem to her first. We might talk about it if there's any like words that she didn't understand. We might talk about what the poem is about. She would go through, make sure that she can like read it to herself. And then she'll recite the poem to me, much like the way that I recited it, if she's able. And then if there were words she didn't know, we would look them up in a dictionary. So she's been perfecting her dictionary skills. And today for her exam, she was able to successfully look up a word on her own without my help, which was great. If there is not a word that she doesn't know, then I'll just choose a random word. like even if it's a word that she does know what it means, I just want her to practice using a dictionary. So then one day a week we'll use this grammar check-in, and based on the poem I will have her find like a common noun, a pronoun, a verb, an adjective, a possessive S, a plural S, tell me why this word is capitalized, things like that. And then she will do a copy work. Sorry, these bookmarks are from Land of Kakiak on her Etsy shop. She has a bunch of language arts check-in bookmarks that are fantastic. I mention that like in every video I think I make. So after we read the poem, we'll just do that once a week. But then for 3 days out of the week, she will do copy work of different sections of that poem. So this might be like one stanza of the poem, or I also started bringing in copy work out of Shakespeare just to kind of change it up a little bit. But let's just say it's one stanza of the poem. She does her copy work underneath, and then I go through with a correcting pen and basically correct it for her in front of her so she can see. And that is her copy work for the day. So she does that 3 days a week. She will then have spelling words that are based off of the copy work that she did. So I would come up with probably around 8 or 10 spelling words from the poem. And we might just do like 3 a day, where she'll copy work the word and then she'll study it, and then she'll cover it up and then see if she can write it from memory. And we'll do that 3 days a week. And then on Fridays is when we'll do dictation and a spelling review. I'm trying not to call it spelling test. So the dictation would be like I will have something written down on a separate sheet of paper. Like this would be 3 different dictations. And she would study it, and then without looking, I will read it, and then she will write it down, trying to, like, mostly it's just about spelling. I don't really correct it in all the ways that I correct copy work, but mostly it's just looking at her spelling, and then hoping that her punctuation is right. And then she will have a spelling review of all, like, 8 to 10 words, and that will be something like this. And then basically it just kind of informs me, what is she totally cool with spelling? What is she struggling with? I will say, and I feel okay about it because spelling is something that Charlotte Mason just didn't like stress on much in these younger years, that really spelling ought to be taken care of through copywork and dictation throughout the years. I, being a 21st century educator, just like feel more aware of every other kid learning spelling right now. So I'm trying this process, just keeping it nice and gentle. I may bring in something that's a little bit more rigorous with spelling, just because like I felt like she did really well throughout the term, but then when we did our test today for our exam, I think she got like 6 out of 10 wrong. So I don't think that this method is working super well. But I do think that it's good practice. You know, it's not worthless what we did. It was great. But if I want her spelling to improve sooner than later, I'm probably gonna have to bring in something a bit more rigorous. So that's like what we do like 4 days a week. Okay. So that's kind of like the bulk of our language arts. And then one extra thing that we do is explode the code. This is really just like extra practice. I require her to read 10 minutes a day, which unfortunately is something that she fights me on because she's just not loving reading yet. We have a snack shack system where if she reads 20 minutes a day, she gets a snack. Some days though, she'll convince me to read 10 minutes a day, and then she does a couple pages of Explode the Code book 6 to get her special snack. And this is good practice for spelling. Explode the Code is awesome. But I'm just saying we're not like doing it diligently. And honestly, this book is a little easy for her, if I'm being honest. So, but whatever, it's just supplemental. Holy cow. Feels like a lot of language arts. But language arts is always hefty. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, let's jump into something else. So let's do history real quick. History was supposed to be Build Your Library. I even got the whole thing, all the books, History Quest. This is what we were going to do. And I just decided that some of the other books were a little too mature in content of ancient history, and History Quest was just kind of boring me as I was pre-reading it. I ultimately decided I don't want to do Build Your Library. For 3 weeks, I went back to Ambleside Online we were reading from year 1 history because I had all the books. And we actually really loved that. My daughter's narrations were pretty fantastic, and we were enjoying the books like Our Island Story, A Child's History of the World, 50 Famous Stories Retold. But unfortunately, I decided that Ambleside for me is just a little too Eurocentric. The books are a little too old when it comes to teaching history, and I didn't love the way some of the authors, for instance, Child's History of the World, I don't like the way that that author talks about other cultures. It feels very non-inclusive, very uninformed, very narrow-minded, and just not our style. So it was hard for me to walk away from Ambleside because it was going well, but history matters a lot to me, and I want to be sure that the history curriculum we choose that just has more of a multicultural lens on it and is more world history than European history. And then, thankfully, somebody told me about Alvieri. Alvieri is typically like a membership-based Charlotte Mason curriculum, but they do sell their subjects individually. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. And I looked through their grade 3 history, and I was so pleased with, again, that multicultural lens that I've been really looking for, that just has like all these different perspectives and voices about, say, U.S. history in the case of grade 3 Alvieri. And I loved that. So I have a lot of respect for what they're trying to do. And even though it's a Christian-based curriculum and we are non-religious homeschoolers, I really feel that I can use that curriculum in a way that's going to work super well for us. The books, for the most part, are secular. I really don't think it's going to be an issue. So we are starting that next week. I'm so excited. But before I had heard about the alveary, I had Little School of Smiths in the back of my mind for her ancient history units that she is slowly releasing. So she released Egypt, and I had already told my kids we were going to study ancient history this year. And I had been planning it for months. And so I'm like, well, Ambleside didn't work out, build your library. Let's actually do 6 weeks on Egypt. And then I'll start alveary come November. So we did the Unfolding Ancient Egypt. We finished. I have one more activity that's actually not in here, but it relates to ancient Egypt. We're doing it on Halloween. But anyway, this was a great program. I'm going to do a whole review on this because it included a lot of hands-on projects that I really want to talk about. I want to talk about the program. I want to talk about the books. But this is my daughter's, final portfolio of the work that was done. And it had a lot of fun stuff. So Ancient Egypt for 6 weeks went over well. I was impressed with Poppy's narrations about what she learned in terms of pharaohs and the Nile and pyramids for her exams this week. So yeah, very happy with that unit. Had I not found alveary, we likely would continue with Little School of Smiths. But I will say, and yeah, I guess I'll just say this now, it was really tough squeezing in this Ancient Egypt unit on top of our Charlotte Mason subjects. I mean, we do so much in terms of enrichment with art and music and foreign language and nature study that it was definitely tough to do such a hands-on curriculum. That unit would have been better suited, I think, it worked out great. It was super fun. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a stress case after everything that I attempted to pull off this term. And I think that unit suits homeschool families who focus on ELA, math, and social studies. And then they don't do a ton of other different things. So I think that would have fit in great had we been that type of homeschool, but it was definitely difficult to do all of it. And I did try to do all of it. Okay, so for math, let me grab what we did. Whereas last year we only did Right Start Level B, this year I have brought in a few things. Right Start Level B last year was super great, but my daughter was expressing that she would like a change and she was getting kind of tired of it because we had done A and B. So we started Math Mammoth at the way beginning of the year. We did 4 weeks of it, and I ultimately decided I guess that was more so in the summer, but I decided Math Mammoth wasn't the right fit for us. So we decided to do Right Start Level C. And this had a ton of review in the beginning. And then it started getting into some more subtraction. This level is not heavy on multiplication and division yet. And so the subtraction in this was, it was a unit teaching it in a method that was not resonating super well with my daughter. In fact, I think she knew subtract. I don't think she's learned more subtraction since, unfortunately. The way that they went about that unit was a letdown. And I love Right Start, but that was for sure a letdown, unfortunately. We are a little over a third of the way done. Which is perfect for being at the end of term 1. But this is now moving into a very lengthy geometry unit. Geometry is something my daughter really doesn't like at all, and I struggle with geometry. So I have decided that we are going to put this down for a little bit and strengthen our subtraction and start getting into multiplication with Simply Charlotte Mason. So I love this book so much. I'm honestly just wondering, could I just use Simply Charlotte Mason arithmetic as our core math? I still love Right Start. I have level D ready to go when this is done, but we are just kind of flying through this. And we were doing this once a week, And now that we've been doing it every day for the past couple of weeks, we're already through like 55 pages. We are through all of the review, and now we're getting into subtraction with larger numbers for a little bit, and then we're jumping into a really big multiplication unit. This is a cozy math curriculum. I get to grab this book, I grab some change and some fake, money, fake cash, and her notebook, and we just crack out a couple pages of this, and it's just like so chill, and my daughter is really liking this. I think in grade 1, when I did this, we did the whole grade 1 book. It was like really redundant. This has like several different math concepts in it. That's not just quality of numbers and learning addition. So this is just going really well. We're gonna keep doing this as long as it keeps going well. I don't know when we're getting back to Right Start. I have plans to get back to it and to finish it. I just don't know when. And then some supplemental math stuff. So I was trying to listen to my daughter when she said that she's feeling a little frustrated about math being kind of boring at the end of last year. So I brought in a flower multiplication book project that she's been doing 1 a week, but I think we might start cracking out 2 a week. This is just like a really soft little introduction to multiplication. She has not like learned it yet. This is just kind of a fun intro, but we're going to be getting deeper into that soon. So we've been doing this, and then I also for a time brought in wild math. I brought in grade 3 and grade 1, and we did this for 7 weeks, and it was really fun. But then for some reason, my son, my little one, lost interest, and planning the whole thing, like planning these activities for just one kid, I don't know. It was just kind of bumming me out. I just didn't really want to do it for just one kid. And my daughter really did like it. So I actually have some plans for term 2 to get back out in nature for math, and I'll share that in a later video. But I also just kind of feel like we were exhausting the activities that I liked from the 3rd grade program. And anyway, my daughter hasn't brought it up in a little while, so I'm kind of hoping that we've forgotten about wild math so that we can just get back to our normal routine for a bit. But I do have more enrichment plans to continue making math a little bit more engaging and more fun. All right, our main spine for science this term has been a kid's herb book. This is a really great book that teaches the kids all these little interesting facts about medicinal herbs like chamomile and fennel and garlic and lemon balm. We did 6 herbs. So 1 week we will introduce the herb. If I can find it fresh, that's even better. I'll read about it. We will do a nature study on it. Like we'll paint it in our nature journals. And so I'll just kind of show you what my daughter did. So like this is her chamomile, and she would write what it's good for. It's good for stomach aches. Plantain leaf. You see what I mean with her handwriting? Could be better. This was a good one. I had her label the parts of garlic. So we'll do that 1 week, and then the next week I will continue reading from the book. We might do a little activity like we've made tea before, or we tried to make fennel candy, which was not very good. And then on that 2nd week of that same herb, the kids will do a flashcard. So the idea is that they try to remember what the herb looked like from last week, from when they did their nature study, and then they draw it from memory and they label it. And then on the back, I would have my daughter write just a couple facts that she remembers on the back. These are great. What I will say is that, and like, I'm so happy that we have done this project. I wanted to, and I didn't know if we would. What I will say though is that I haven't been using these in a very productive way. Like the questions that I asked the kids for their exam about the herb study we've been doing, they definitely didn't share as much as I thought they would in terms of what they remembered. So it was, I don't want to say it was a miss. I think they retain kind of like half of what we've been going over. But I was really hoping for more. And I think we need more review. In everything that we do, we need more review at the beginning of the lesson. And this is a component to Charlotte Mason, is that you review what you learned before, what you read before. I should be reviewing with them their flashcards that they're making before we jump into a new part of the lesson. So that was good information for me, that our herb study is just not going deep enough. As a science elective for my daughter, we've been doing these health books from American Girl. We read half of the Feelings book, and at first she was really liking this, but then she just was getting over it, and she shared with me that like she doesn't think about this book after we read it, because there's like a lot of tips in here on how to manage emotions. First of all, I just kind of feel like these books are slightly outdated, and I think that was a good insight from her, is that she just like wasn't thinking about the tips that they were giving her afterwards. So we're just feeling kind of pointless. I think that there are so many emotional, so many books on emotional well-being out there that I can find better ones that resonate with her more. The Care and Keeping of You, she really wants me to keep reading, but only because she's just so curious about the changes that her body will be making. But she wasn't letting me read this slowly and chapter by chapter. She just wanted me to kind of skip ahead to sort of like the older stuff that's going to be happening. And we're just not there yet. It's not necessary. So we're setting these down for now. This is for sure not a half an hour. Morning basket. So I'll talk about how my daughter kind of handled our morning basket subjects, and then we'll hit my son in a different video. So we've been doing a lot of map drills, US map drills, and we've been doing that since last year, and I'm so stoked with how much the kids have remembered of the states. So they have like their big whiteboard USA maps, and 2 or 3 times a week, we'll go over like 10 states, and they'll color them in. This is going so great. My kids probably have 30 states memorized, and then next year we'll start getting into more like state study and abbreviations and capitals and things like that. The other part of geography that we have done this term is Elementary Geography by Charlotte Mason. We have paired this with quite a bit of Orbiting the Sun in Our Backyard, Secrets of the Seasons, because there's like several lessons in this that talk about the seasons and the Earth's orbit. And so the illustrations in this have helped a lot. I have used our Blackboard to really help illustrate the lesson for the kids. That has been really necessary so that this doesn't go totally over their heads. And then they will draw the, whatever I've drawn on the board. They will draw their own variation of that. And then my daughter will write a short narration about what she learned, or sometimes I'll write it for her. So the notebooking with the geography is great. It's going well. I really enjoyed reading this to them and doing these lessons. They can be really hands-on too. They sometimes involve some props. But our exams the last couple days, I didn't get as much from them about this book as I had hoped. And I'm still a fairly new Charlotte Mason homeschooler. And this is the first year that I've really tried to adopt her methods, more so over the last couple of years. So I'm still learning, and I'm trying to not get caught up in what they have learned. More so, I want to know what they've enjoyed learning about, because that matters like so much. So anyway, I'm just giving myself a pep talk here that it's okay that they didn't know all the answers to the questions about the Earth's rotation and everything, but that they did retain some of it, and that's great. So this book is just, I think it does a really great job at illustrating the seasons and why we have day and night and how we know the Earth is round, things like that. Some of this for sure went over their heads. There were a couple lessons that I had to skip. The language is sometimes just, pretty unfamiliar. And when you're talking about something kind of scientific, right, it can be even more difficult when you're using language that they're not used to. So I wouldn't say this was a complete win. I enjoyed it. I think the kids definitely got some stuff out of it. I am going to set this down and move into CC Long CC Long Home Geography, I think it's called. And we'll see if that sits a little bit better with them. But all in all, I think it was okay. Another thing that we do in our morning basket is morning drills. This is my own creation. It's on my Etsy shop. I'll link it in the description. This does have geography drills. So what direction is left and right, name the 5 oceans, name the 7 continents, what is a compass used for, what is the smallest continent, what country do you live in, what town do you live in? Just these questions that you would want your young elementary students to be grasping. It also has a lot of personal and safety questions that my daughter just loves. She loves knowing what do you do when you call 911? Or what do you do if there's if you're in a precarious situation, a fire or an earthquake or lost or something. She really loves that. And then there's also calendar questions in here about seasons, about holidays, about their birthday, things like that. My daughter really likes the morning drills. She's been super cool with those. We have brought in folk songs this year for the first time. This is also my own creation that I'll link in the description. These are not religious, biblical folk songs. These are more Americana, bluegrass songs that I chose, and that I have little write-ups under each song about why it's important to the United States. This has been a fail for sure, which doesn't speak highly of my creation, unfortunately. We've done 3 months of songs, which is 3 songs, and they haven't liked any of them. But I do think it's good that I'm still planting the seed of the song. These are important songs to our culture, and I want them to recognize them at least, even if they're oh, I know that song, I hate that song, or Bob Dylan's voice is so annoying. Whatever. It's good for them to recognize it. So we're going to keep going, but I wouldn't say it's been a hit. Something I brought in, I don't do this every week, but most weeks, for the last few weeks anyway, I've brought in this book by Deepak Chopra, On My Way to a Happy Life. It has 7 lessons or 7 principles based on his teachings on how to be a happy person. And they are definitely of the, spiritual mindset, having to do with manifestation and karma, and give what you want to receive, what comes back to you. So they're just sweet little illustrations. It's really short, but I think that it's a nice way to start our morning table time together. We're almost done. Paper Sloyd has been our handicraft this term, and my daughters liked it. It's not they're not wild about it, but we've done every project. We're going to finish it. We have 2 more projects left, I think. I think her favorite was probably the scissors case that she's still using for her little office kit. But anyway, these are really cute paper crafts that are all about measurement and being precise and making something useful. And my daughter does not like crafts that serve no purpose typically. So this kind of thing is right up her alley. But I've been happy with the way this has gone. We have been doing studio art. This is a book drawing with children by Mona Brooks, and it's definitely a cool, somewhat holistic, very creative approach to drawing that I would say is less technical. And I think that what I'm learning about drawing, and I should know a few things because I'm an art major, but I actually don't think I know that much, is that there's really kind of 2 techniques, and I need to choose which one I want to focus on. We are going to keep going with this because it's been really successful. In fact, I want to show you a couple of my daughter's drawings. There is another technique that I am thinking I want to bring in when this book is done. But we do this once a week, where this technique is more about following the instructor's lines to draw something, an object or an animal. And then the kids have their creative freedom to color it in how they want and to add other embellishments like a background and to really try to fill the white space. And it's a book that really, like, even though it's showing you exactly how to draw something, it really is a book that encourages creativity, like individual creativity, and how each child is so different with their art, of course, which makes sense. Okay, I guess let me show you a couple of our drawings. So we learned how to draw a horse. This is really cute. This one, I'll just show you like one more. This one I really love. This was our still life that we did last week. So my issue though with learning to draw in a step-by-step way is, right, it doesn't really differ from a lot of the drawing instruction books that are out there that you can buy and that kids love, because like they'll draw something that they didn't know how to draw because they're following each line, and then they have drawn a monkey and they're like, oh my gosh, look at my monkey, but they can't replicate that monkey again without looking at the instruction. They haven't actually learned how to draw a monkey. They've learned how to copy the lines that someone else has drawn. This is the way that I learned to draw. I have to look at something to draw it well. I can't just, like, even though I am a good drawer, I can't just be told to draw a monkey. Like, it will look awful, like terrible. I am not like an imaginative, skilled drawer. I have to look at something and then I can draw it like pretty precisely. I always wanted to be a skilled artist from my head and not from looking at something else. And there was another drawing program that I was considering using from Under the Home. It's by Osberg. Forget his first name or last name. But it's an older book. It's an older technique. But basically, like, you do use the teacher's drawings to learn to draw a particular thing. But only so far until you yourself can then be drilled on drawing these things yourself, until basically perfection. And so it's teaching all of these really cool, things like depth of field and perspective and shadows and, composition, but it's, which is fantastic, of course, but it's more importantly teaching the child how to actually draw that object from their head and not from looking at it in a book or on a board. So while this has built confidence, and it definitely has, like, I'm loving seeing my daughter take her time with something and fill a white page full of color. I don't think that this teaches you how to draw. Right? Anyway. Okay, last thing we're going to hit is Spanish. We started out using Homeschool Languages. This is essentially my daughter's first year with foreign language. We did try Beautiful Mundo last year, or maybe it was the year before. I think it was the year before. Didn't go very well. And then we didn't do anything last year. So this year I decided we're really going to go all in with a foreign language. We got through 9 lessons of this, and I really felt that my kids were not retaining any Spanish. And so I got speaking Spanish with Miss Mason and Francois, and we did a lesson out of that. I don't know, they hated it. But I actually think that book could be fantastic, but I think there needs to be a little bit more eagerness on from my kids to learn a foreign language, to use more of a drill style technique. They actually like this program. And like, here's where I'm landing with it at the end of the term. They have learned some Spanish. They've learned, some numbers. They've learned colors. They've learned a couple of expressions or greetings. That's it. But because they really like the program, we're going to stick with it. We're actually going to start it over again. So we're going to go back to lesson 1 at the beginning of term 2 next week. And I need to just study it more so that I don't feel like all over the place with this, because it does jump around a lot. I think I need to be more prepared. I need to actually schedule it in. Like, we were doing it with lunch, and maybe I could keep doing that, but I just need to be more diligent about actually doing it. And I think if I'm more prepared and if I know exactly how the lesson is going to go, then it will be easier for me. But it was just a hard thing to fit in, and that would explain why they probably haven't learned a ton of Spanish. But anyway, it's an adorable program and they really like it, so we are going to stick with it. Oh my gosh, you guys, is it a lot? It felt like so much. And given my son does a lot of that stuff with us, but I'll talk about him in another video. Term 1 has gone so well. I feel like we hit my daughter's goals. I am pleased with our curriculum choices. Aside from sort of the history hiccup, I'm happy about where we're landing with history. I think, like, if anything is making me feel a little heavy-hearted, it's that I just am still very new to Charlotte Mason. And these lessons that we do are short so that we can fit in the feast. And so it's like, sometimes I question, what are my kids retaining if these lessons are so short and we're just like hitting one thing after another? And I feel like I kind of saw that in the exams where it was like, wasn't as deep as I had hoped it would be. I'm so curious what Charlotte Mason would say to me about that. But then again, I know so much of her philosophy is about planting these seeds, sparking joy for learning, and most importantly, connecting like relationally to other subjects, like the science of relations. And so I know that, like, even though my kids may not have retained a ton of Spanish or a ton of herbal knowledge or a ton about Egypt or a ton about the Earth's rotation around the sun, like, the seeds have been planted. When we revisit these things or continue these subjects, I know that the knowledge is going to grow as long as I am meeting them where they are, not expecting something unrealistic from them, and trying to just continue to bring joy into our homeschool. But yeah, holy moly, Charlotte Mason is no joke. It's a beautiful feast, but yeah, it's a lot. So anyway, guys, thanks for sticking with me if you did. Term 1 is over. Let's move on to term 2. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.